Hey everyone, Sunday in time for a new episode of Record Collecting with the Quill. Today I decided to pick 10 of my favorite songs about the Big Apple, New York. There's a lot of songs been written about the greatest town in the world, and I've decided to pick 10 of my favorites for various reasons. But before we start, you know the drill. Make sure you subscribe, hit that little notice bell, and share with your friends. Well, as I said, there's tons of songs written about New York and the street life of New York and such a mythical town. I've been fortunate to visit there, I think, three times. Yeah, three times. And it's one of those places you always want to go back to. So starting out, as I said, my 10 favorite songs about New York. I'm starting out with this one. One of those typical he's more sort of connected with New Jersey on the but Bruce Springsteen, The Wild, The Innocent, and The E Street Shuffle. The last track, New York City Serenade. This is probably my favorite Bruce Springsteen album. People often talk about Born to Run or Darkness, but I'm quite fond of his two first albums, Greetings from Asbury Park, and this one. Sort of more of a storyteller vein on these. He's always been a storyteller, but I like the songs, and he's sort of like a bystander, just observing things. And the last track, New York City Serenade, is a fantastic track. Sort of it's a serenade, and tells the story of people a little bit maybe not as fortunate as other people in New York. So number 10, New York City Serenade, Bruce Springsteen. I'm gonna mix CDs with vinyl this time. Number 9, Ryan Adams, New York, New York. Such a great song. I remember when this one came out, I was really into it the first time I heard it. Sort of tells the story of him, just his life in New York, and about a relationship going wrong, but that he's still in love with the town. And great chorus and great sort of driving force on this song. So number 9, Ryan Adams, New York, New York. Number 8, a very young Bob Dylan. There's quite a few songs about New York, but this one, Talking New York, tells the story of someone coming to New York for the first time and trying to make it, being hustled along all the sort of cafes and pubs, trying to get a work as a singer, ending up playing harmonica for $1 a day. I'm quite fond of this one, the first Bob Dylan album. I think it's rather innocent in a way, but it's a cool track. Talking New York, number 8. Number 7, this is an album I grew up listening to. My father had it on vinyl. He still has the vinyl copy. I have the CD. Simon and Garfunkel, the album Bridge Over Troubled Water, and the track I've chosen is The Only Living Boy in New York. As I said, I remember quite young listening to this album over and over again, and there are so many great songs on this one. And The Only Living Boy in New York was sort of, I think I liked the sadness of it as a kid. That's what drew me to the song. And they've written, there's a lot of other songs about New York written by Paul Simon, but this was the first one I heard, and my favorite. Number, what is it, 7, Only Living Boy in New York. Number 6. Also, there's a lot of artists connected sort of with New York and telling the stories about New York, and one of the most famous one is, of course, Mr. Lou Reed, and the track I've chosen is, of course, Walk on the Wild Side. Tells the story about people not as fortunate, living on the streets as prostitutes. And from what I read, all the characters are actual figures he met through Andy Warhol. So it's more or less a true story, or at least he's the people the lyrics are written about were real people or actual figures in the New York scene in the 70s, which makes it even more a even better track, if you ask me. So number 6, Walk on the Wild Side with Lou Reed. Number 5, is it? Yeah. Another one of those acts sort of really connected with the New York. Ramones, of course. They also written quite a few songs about their native town, and I've chosen to go with Rockaway Beach. A great track, and I think it was their biggest hit, and it's sort of like it's a song about summer in New York. And when I was in New York for the last time, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, we went there in July, and New York in summer, it can get so hot. I think I've been on sort of vacations to the Mediterranean Sea, but I never experienced heat as I did in New York. And this song tells the story about trying to get out of New York during summer when it's hot and go to Rockaway Beach, and you can't take the bus because there's a lot of disco on the bus, so you have to find a ride somehow out to Rockaway Beach and get some sun. So cool pick. Number, what was it, 5, Rockaway Beach, Ramones. Number 4, this was the song, and I know the journalist, a Swedish probably the most famous musical journalist in Sweden, Per Bjurman, always, whenever he gets back to New York, he lives in New York right now, but before that he always played this song when he got to New York. New York Grew by Ace Frehley from his 1978 solo album. It's actually a cover version by a band called Hello, who had a minor hit with it, but Ace Frehley was the one who made it an all-time classic, and the only one of the Kiss members who got a hit single from the solo albums. So number 4, New York Groove, such a cool track. 3, if you think you're in New York and 70s, you think disco. And if you think New York and disco and 70s, you have to think of Bee Gees. I don't have the Staying Alive soundtrack. I'm not really into disco, but I'm really into Bee Gees. They made so much great stuff over the years, and Staying Alive, it's the ultimate soundtrack to the nightlife of Studio 54 and the whole scene in New York in the late 70s, and a cool movie or fun movie with John Travolta. There's also another track on this one called The New York Mining Disaster, but I prefer Staying Alive. It's more sort of a time capsule in a way. So number 3, Staying Alive, Bee Gees. Number 2 is not a typical New York artist. On the contrary, it's a British artist, but Elton John's Honky Chateau has a fantastic song called Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. And it tells the story of, I think it was written by, the lyrics of course by Bernard Taupin, and it was written as a response to his first visit to New York City, and when he heard shootings outside of his hotel room. And it sort of paints a sort of a sad story, and I think that's the cool thing with New York, or cool thing, but which makes it interesting. You have everything from the disco life of Bee Gees in the late 70s to Lou Reed's stories about the prostitutes, and you have everything from heaven to hell. And this song is such a great early Elton John track. Just his voice and the lyrics are so good. So number 2, Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters by Elton John. And number 1, what could it be? Well, of course, you have to go with Frankie Boy, New York, New York. Also sort of the 50s and 60s vibe of New York, or 40s as well. I think that's the ultimate song about New York. Start spreading the news, I'm leaving today. I don't think it can get any more iconic than that. And Frankie Boy, of course, being sort of an ambassador for New York as well. So my number 1 pick, New York, New York by Frank Sinatra. Now, I really want to hear this. As I said, there's tons of songs written about New York. There's tons of stuff I sort of had to omit. So I want to hear, what are your favorite songs about New York? Let me know in the comment section. It will be really interesting to see what you have to offer. And also make sure you follow us on social media. It's The Quill Sweden, The Quill Sweden. See you all again next week. That's it for now. Cheers. Bye.